Hi, this is Stephen Strimming from XLH Sports and Indiana Sports Network, and we have the great pleasure today to be talking to Mike New, the Ball State football coach. And Mike, welcome to Indiana Sports and XLH Sports.
I appreciate you having me. It's exciting that football season's here.
I think one of the things we want to talk about, Mike, is there's several things we want to talk about, but the first to me is getting Brandon Martin back is huge. That's the Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago with the MAC. Of course, he was in the Arizona Bowl. Talk a little bit about Brandon, what he brings, that leadership in the seventh year.
Yeah, and certainly we all know about Brandon as a football player. His accolades speak for themselves, being the Defensive Player of the Year, the championship year. But what Brandon Martin's all about off the field, his leadership, his work ethic, the way he attacks the weight room, everything he does is first class, carries himself in such a great way over on campus around the Muncie community. And so he's been an unbelievable, leader for our program, and he's really helped set the standards by which we operate day in, day out.
Did you know coming into this what kind of type of player? I'm sure you knew what type of man he was, a young man he was, but the type of an adult man that he's became.
Well, it's been awesome. I'm fortunate, that he's been able to take advantage of a seventh year with COVID, and really, Brandon Martin only knows one way. He goes so hard on the practice field. He goes so hard in the meeting room. You wouldn't know when you come out to the practice field that guy right there is a seventh-year guy, seventh-year player. He practices as hard as anybody, and he prepares and studies the game as much as anybody. So it was great when he made the decision after spring practice was over that, hey, I want to take advantage of one more year that I have, and he's done a great job so far here in training camp.
And let's talk about defense a little bit. Last year, let's just talk about you made your second bowl in a year in a row. Of course, Arizona Bowl. Then you went down to Camellia Bowl last year and played in that. That's 2 straight years now. The program's been in a bowl game. That has to be exciting for you and the players.
Well, it is exciting. We're proud of that, but certainly last year we feel like we had some unfulfilled expectations. We lost 3 one-possession games where we went into the fourth quarter. Either we had the lead by a score or we're down by a score. We didn't win those 3 contests, and you look back on it, reflect on it. You talk about the details all the time. We win those games and we're right back in the championship conversation. So extremely competitive conference from top to bottom. The MAC is great football. We're just excited to get back out here again. We're about the halfway point right now at training camp, and got a great week 1 opponent in Tennessee, and still got a lot of work left to get done on the practice field, but off to a great start and love the attitude of the team right now.
And one thing that I've been reading about, of course, Cody Vega puts out all your information out there, and one of the highlights so far to me is the defense, since it was so injury riddled last year.
Yeah, we had some challenges last year. Football, injuries happen in the sport of football. It's a very physical game. We had our share of injuries. Guys did a good job of stepping up a year ago. Probably got some experience faster than they were thinking, but it's paying off for us right now. We graduated quite a few young men, but I know the perception outside of our building is probably that we lost 30 players to graduation, but inside our building, that's not the feeling. And these guys have been great about attacking it every day, and our next man up mentality has really paid off for us in terms of some of the guys that had to step up and be ready when their number was called.
One of the things we always talk about is, and it's overlooked, but it's not overlooked by coaches and players, is special teams. How does your long snapper, your punter, your kicker coming into this year, going forward into the MAC?
Yeah, fired up. Dylan Seiler has been a tremendous long snapper for us, the last couple years, and he's done a great job since he stepped into that starting role, so consistent. Lucas Burrow will step into the full-time punting duties this year. Lucas punted for us in a rotation last year with Nate Snyder, and it's been great here in training camp to see the place-kicking battle between Ben Von Gunten, transferred to us from Indiana Wesleyan, Carson Holmer, true freshman from Avon, Indiana, and then young man A.J. Vinatieri, we all certainly know his father. But those 3 guys have been in a nice little competition here in camp, and we'll see how that shakes out.
And your long snapper is pretty solid.
He is. Dylan does a great job. So consistent. You only hear about a long snapper
if
the snap doesn't go right. You don't hear Dylan's name, and it takes a lot of pride in that.
It does. We talked a little bit about defense. Let's talk about some of the players who are back this year, who fans all over Indiana and all over the Midwest can actually focus in when they watch Ball State football.
Yeah, I'm starting on the defensive side of the ball. I think one of the deepest groups that we have is on our defensive line. You think about guys like Tavion Woodard, Indiana product, Kyle King, Indiana product, Justin Ramsey, Indiana product, Kyron Mims has played a lot of great football for us. We've got quite a few guys in that rotation there that have played a lot of ball for us, and we feel like that's one of the deepest positions on our football team. Obviously, you mentioned Brandon Martin, but Clayton Call,
Yes.
Cole Pierce, Keontae Newsom. I mean, we got a deep linebacking core as well. Both corners, AJ Uzodenma, Nick Jones. Those guys have started a lot of ball games here at Ball State. In the secondary, obviously losing Bryce Cosby is he's played 55 games here at Ball State. So, but Malcolm Lee, who's been a tremendous special teams player for us over the years, he'll step in at one safety, and then Jaquan Amos, is a transfer from Iowa State. He's done a really nice job. So, those guys have been awesome. Defense has played a lot of good football, and then you flip over offensively. Excited to see John Paddock. He's been here 3 years, waited his turn, prepared hard. Jay Sean Jackson's a tremendous weapon. Carson Steele's a tremendous weapon. Johannes Tyler, who's been here. We had a transfer from Vanderbilt, Namir Abdur-Rahman, and so he's done a great job so far in camp. And then the offensive line, you think about guys that all 5 of these guys that are on the starting unit have started games at Ball State. Jalen Turner's back healthy. Joe Boggs is back healthy. Ethan Crow has done a great job. Damon Kaler, Indiana product that transferred to us from Michigan State, started a lot of games a year ago. And then Corey Stewart. Corey Stewart's a talented young player that high ceiling. So we feel good about where we're at. Yes, we want to keep our guys healthy, and like everybody does.
Mike, I think one of the things too is your defense during the course of the years. You've had a sound defense, better than what people think it is. I mean, I come up from what you guys played. I take it back to the Army game. A couple years ago, and it was just solid. Last year I watched you guys play Central Michigan. I thought you guys played good defense during that game, and I'm sitting there watching it, and then you're talking about recruiting Indiana kids, of course, the Cole kids from Tri-West, and Colton, the running back, of course, is Center Grove kid. Yeah, Carson Steele's from Center Grove. How is it important to you, Mike, to recruit Indiana kids first into this program and then go around the state and then the country after that?
Well, we're an Indiana school, and so obviously it's important for us to recruit our home state extremely heavy. That's the number one priority. Obviously, we want to do a great job in the Midwest after that, and then we'll pick a couple of outlier areas where we feel like we've got some traction, some momentum, and attack those spots. But Indiana high school football is really good. Probably doesn't get enough credit. These young men from Indiana are coached up extremely well, got great discipline, been coached hard on the practice field, and I appreciate that when they get here to our program and they make that transition from high school to college.
It's not like I had to start all over again.
That's exactly right. When they come in here, they've practiced hard, they've been coached hard, and that's something that the credit goes to the Indiana high school coaches.
I think one of the biggest losses, of course, is Drew Plitt from last season. Drew just did about everything for you guys. Dug yourselves out of some holes sometimes when people are going, we're not getting out of this hole, and Drew dug yourselves out. I think young Paddock was the backup for 3 years. Talk about his maturity coming in and accepting that role, because, again, I've heard he's done nothing but take those reins under him and take off with that and be a leader.
Yeah, you reflect back to, when we went to spring practice in 2019 there, and that was kind of the changing of the guard. That was Drew Plitt's opportunity to basically take over as a leader on our team. That's the same thing that's happened with John here. John's a competitor. He knows the offense. He studied it, worked a lot behind the scenes when no one's watching. He has really done an unbelievable job since January of really making sure everybody knows, man, this is my football team here, and I'm going to make sure I provide great leadership. He's done a great job through spring, through summer, through fall camp so far, and John will be ready to go.
And Mike, you came from that position, so you understand it, and I'm sure that John had his opportunities in practice over and over, repetition. You went through the same thing when you got here.
There's no question. The speed of the game in college is very tough. You just don't get a chance to show them anything like that. And so, they come in, and that's the first shock for all of them at quarterback is just the speed of the game, how much ground guys can cover. You got to locate the ball extremely well because guys aren't as open, aren't open as much as they were in high school. And so you got to locate the ball extremely well. And really, John's done all the little things, all the pre-snap stuff, making identifications, mixing up the snap count, having a good feel for what the defense has run. And he's worked hard over the years in practice to really get to a good place with that.
When prognosticators, and I hate that, but they call Ball State a sleeper team. I like that. I thought that was kind of good. And I don't think they realize how many people on defense is coming back to this team, how many understudies are ready to play, and then Brandon Martin.
Yeah, I appreciate that, to be honest
Do
with
you
you.
really?
Because that's an automatic chip on your shoulder. When somebody doubts you and you're an underdog.
Yeah.
And, 2 years ago when we won the championship, we were picked to finish last. Last year in this conference, Northern Illinois was picked to finish last and won the championship. It's a great conference. You got to be ready. It's, obviously last year we lost those 3 one-possession games. We won those the year before that, so we've really been focusing on the details. We got to make sure we're a great situational football team, great communicating football team, and so those are things you work hard on in practice. But I love being in that role. I wouldn't want it any other way, and as long as the guys in this building, players, coaches, staff, everybody involved in our program, as long as we believe, and that's all that matters when we take the field, then I'm good with that.
I know, Mike, one time out in Arizona, you commented that you're basically, okay, we're going to do this, and then there's the next step, and then there's the next step, and then there's the next. It's detailed stuff that comes with this. How important would it be to you to lead Ball State and your team here to 3 consecutive bowl games?
I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're
that
so
was the
bought
answer.
in. Yeah, we're just so bought into the one day at a time approach. I know that's probably a boring answer for everybody, but really that's how we are, one at a time. And everything
Well, I
we
like
do,
that.
just one meeting at a time, one practice at a time. One lifting session at a time. We just got to make the day count. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got a blank slate for that day. What's your slate going to look like at the end of the day? Did you put everything into it that you could? And so just trying to teach guys to get a process for themselves and focus on that process. Don't worry about the end result. Just focus on the process and we'll be all right.
After the first few weeks of practice, in fact, while we're doing this interview, the young men are still on the field going through their routine every day. Are there any surprises that people, when they tune in to Ball State football, are going to go, he's better than what I thought he was?
Not really yet. I'm pleased with just the overall business-like attitude on the practice field, the effort. You get to the dog days, if you will.